And I did ask the questions of Mrs. Whiteaway of what days of the week that these incidences have been happening, and one of them, you gave a date, and I looked up on my phone and it was a Tuesday. And you've mentioned that you do have door staff on Fridays and Saturdays. Would a potential help be having door staffs on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Sundays, for instance?
We say no, because the incidents referred to are very few and far between. If this was happening 5 to 6 nights a week, you'd have had hundreds of clips. Every single day they'd be able to get a video of antisocial behaviour outside. You haven't got that. So to ask Mr. Aranan to have 1 or 2 door supervisors 7 nights a week to deal with something which might only happen once a week outside of a Friday and Saturday is wholly disproportionate. And as you know, to add a condition to a premises licence, it must be reasonable and proportionate, and the costs of having door staff there would not be proportionate, because they may have to deal with 1 incident every month within those days. Yes, Fridays and Saturdays is accepted. Albert Road is extremely busy, and that's why he employs door staff on those 2 evenings. He has had in the past door staff working during the week as well, but as I say, that ends up in a situation where he's paying people wages effectively to stand in a door and do nothing for 4 hours.
Do you think some antisocial behaviour is happening, especially outside the Quickie Mart, because it is the only place that is open down Albert Road at 3, 4 in the morning, that people are congregating because there are lights on?
That's entirely possible. I mean, who's to say why someone thinks it's a good night out to sit outside a convenience store? But I have heard, I've been doing licensing 30 years, and I have heard the moth to a light syndrome, where people are attracted to places which have got their lights on. But again, as I said, whatever you do with the license, this will be a 24-hour shop, and it's going to have its lights on. And so we say, what's happened is still going to happen. We're not selling them the alcohol. We will continue to speak to customers. If we know they've turned up in a car and have got the music blaring, we will give them the appropriate advice to switch it off. But that area is very busy, particularly at weekends. Lots of people use that area to get taxis, and you saw Mr. Lee himself was asked whether he was an Uber. I mean, it is just a popular place for cars to stop, pick people up, because you've got Ken's there as well. Rainbow's open till 2, and Quickie Mart, yes, 24 hours. But you're right. I mean, it's possible, because the lights are on. That's where they think that they can go and be.
Thank you. Members, any questions?
Can I make some comments, please?
You can ask some questions. We can sum up at the end.
Okay.
So questions if you'd like to, and then we'll go into summing up.
Okay, yeah, I do have one question. You say, obviously, there's door persons employed. I very rarely see doormen. So my question is, going by the footage that you've seen of some examples, of many examples that I've got, you can clearly see there's no doorman present at the time of filming. Can you explain that when you say he employs doormen?
Yeah, I can't, because I haven't had most of the video clips, so I don't know what times and days of the week they are. All I do know is that since I've been instructed, the doorman have been employed. There's no requirement for him to have doormen. You will all know during the reopening of premises there is a shortage of doormen, so during the summer it's incredibly difficult actually to get the 2 doormen to work on a Friday and Saturday night. There's a shortage in this city. Fortunately for him, I guess it's not a condition on his licence, but he's SIA badged anyway, so he's there, as I said, every night, and he's got the training and the skills to deal with it. What they won't do is deal with issues that are outside, that are unrelated to their store, and put themselves at risk. Why should they? Why should they have to control that part of Albert Road? Just in the same way as if this was the Royal Albert or Ken's Kebabs under review, and that antisocial behaviour was going on because people choose to gather there, they wouldn't be controlling it and putting their staff at risk either. It is a situation where, and I was incredibly surprised to hear that you'd called the police and they just drove by and did nothing. It just seems bizarre to me, because they do need to be dealing with it. Sergeant Rackham assured me that they would if they see antisocial behaviour, then they will deal with it. So I think that's all I can do, taking it that far. There's 2 there Fridays and Saturdays. Will be going forward, providing, of course, the door staff are available, but in any event there's always going to be one effective SIA person there, because Aaron works there 7 nights a week.
Could I ask a supplementary question on what you've asked there? Does the licence holder wear his SIA badge publicly when he's working in the shop?
No, but if he was engaged in SIA, primary role was SIA, then yes, he would. So if for example on a Friday he thought there was a need to have someone stationed at the door at all times and his 2 doormen didn't turn up, then yes, he would have to.
Thank you. You just hinted at something. Oh, you want to break? Yeah, thank you. I think we'll go to summing up, because I don't think it will be very long, and then we'll have an extended period.
Would I be in order to ask a question, madam?
Sorry. Okay, we'll finish the questions of the premises licence holder, and then we'll have a 5-minute comfort break and come straight back. Thank you. Councillor Mason, you had a question of the licence holder.
Yes. You criticise Mrs. Humphreys for producing second-hand evidence. Would you not agree that the comments which you have quoted from the police also constitute second-hand evidence? That's my first question.
It is hearsay. You're right.
It is hearsay, yes.
The licensing officers is second-hand hearsay, which is a lot worse.
But it is still hearsay. The second question I have is that you have sought to make the case that there is no evidence of linkages between the premises and the exacerbation of alcohol. You have suggested that people may be turning up drunk or turning up having drunk a certain amount. But there is no evidence of a linkage between the premises license and exacerbation of alcohol and the antisocial behaviour. These all things are not linked together. If this is the case, would it not be no problem for your client to cut back the hour of opening, cut back the hour of selling alcohol to 1 a.m. in the morning, since obviously you are suggesting that he is not responsible for drunken behaviour outside. Would it not be to his advantage to cut back to 1 o'clock in the morning?
It's not to his advantage, because as a 24-hour convenience store, I think I made it clear it's an asset to the community and to those that need to shop 24 hours. So to penalise the vast majority of people who shop there responsibly between the hours of 1 and 6 in the morning because of the actions of a minority of people who haven't purchased alcohol there would be a considerable shame if the committee chose that course of action. And so no, it doesn't resolve his problems one way or the other, because if he's not selling the alcohol, these people are still going to turn up.
So if this is not penalising, how much alcohol would have to be sold and linked to antisocial behaviour outside for it to be a real problem, in your opinion?
Stand the question, I'm afraid.
Basically, how bad would it have to be before you would accept that there is a problem here?
To accept there was a problem, my client would have to be selling alcohol to people who party in the street and cause a nuisance, which he doesn't do. So we don't accept that he's the cause of the problem. We're not saying that there isn't antisocial behaviour in that area on occasion, and certainly there is a problem with homeless people and begging. What we are saying is that is the responsibility of the police and this council to deal with, not his. And it's a great shame if this committee determined that it is down to the licence holder to effectively police the street and to police the homeless people, of which is their responsibility.
Ms Humphreys, any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
5-minute comfort vote then.
Can I also just stress to everybody not to discuss the case at all if you happen to bump into anybody else throughout the building?
Madam Chairman, although I would like to hear the outcome of this, I have another meeting at 1 o'clock, and so will, with your permission, remove myself.
Sorry? Normally that only happens in Zoom meetings. It's actually happened in real life now. I forgot to turn my microphone on. So now we'll move on to summing up. First of all, I will invite the applicant for the review to summarise their case. And then I will invite the responsible authorities, which would be Ms Humphreys, to and people that have submitted representations, but Councillor Mason has now left the meeting, so just be Ms Humphreys to sum up, and then it will be the other people who are not here, and the premises licence holder will then sum up their case, and then I will ask if you are satisfied with everything that's said, and the premises licence holder has to have the last word at this point. Are you okay with that, Ms Whiteway? I invite you to sum up your case. Thank you.
Okay, so I would just like to say, obviously, I've listened to all the views and opinions that have been put forward this morning. The word hearsay was used on several occasions. If I had enough footage, I'm sure hearsay could have been proven. I could easily have sent in more videos, which on some occasions could quite clearly have proven the hearsay. I am disappointed that the police didn't attend today, especially knowing that they asked me to email over video footage and photos. I still question the comment on door staff, because apart from last Saturday, that's the first time I've seen door staff attend the premises for as far back as I can remember. You questioned the CCTV footage that after 30 days it gets wiped off, but you made comments on certain footage being able and was shown to yourself. So I'm not quite clear there why 1 minute he can produce CCTV and then previously stated there was no CCTV footage to be shown. When my application was first thought of and was considering to be actioned or put forward, it was in the height of the summer, and I can assure you this was happening 5-6 nights a week. And again, I'm sure if I'd spent more time sending more footage, we could have been sat here for 2 hours watching all of it. The colder evenings have set in now, so this probably will not be as much a problem. But my issue is, if I am not successful with some form of outcome today, no doubt at some point this situation will return again. That's all I have to say on the matter at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And can I just say thank you for bringing this forward today, and it's more the fact that it's the first time I've dealt with a review personally myself, but a resident coming forward and being on their own through a process especially. Thank you. Ms Humphreys.
Members, there isn't really much more that I can add other than for you to have regards to the incidents that have been reported to you. It supports the applicant's contention that there are issues of noise, antisocial behaviour and public nuisance arising from the there is a link to these premises associated with the antisocial behaviour happening outside the premises, and it is right and it is proper in a review hearing for you to take account of that when making your deliberations. I don't know whether you would seek to get further legal advice from your legal advisor in terms of the case law to confirm the council's understanding of the case law that I have submitted in my report to you. But members, I'm happy to leave it there as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just come into Mr Stone. Would you like to add anything to that?
I have nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr Walsgrove.
Just very briefly picking up on a couple of points. Just in relation to the CCTV, the reason that I was able to give a commentary on the CCTV footage I did get from the shop, well, that was because I was provided with that video evidence, so I was able to go back because it was within the 31 days of Mr. Aronan's recordings. Obviously, having viewed clips today which I hadn't been provided with, that CCTV's gone. Had it not have done, I probably would have asked for an adjournment so that I could view it all and then provide the same information to this committee, that there is no link between what happens outside and the sale of alcohol. We accept on occasion there is antisocial behaviour outside the shop, and he doesn't want it as much as anybody else. There is an issue with homeless people and beggars in Albert Road. It's not just at the Quickie Mart, they are at other places as well, and they move around from place to place within Albert Road. And he would love that issue to be resolved, and he's certainly happy to work with anybody and do anything or any suggestion to do that. At the moment, that suggestion is simply to ask them to move on, encourage them to move on. If they don't move on and you need assistance, phone the police, by which time when they come they have moved on. It's not the best solution. Cutting his hours back on the premises licence would be a punishment for something which is not his responsibility. The evidence that you've heard from the various parties, in my respectful submission, doesn't get anywhere close to the balance of probabilities that it's more likely than not that those things are caused by the sale of alcohol from Quickie Mart. There hasn't been a shred of evidence which shows that alcohol has been sold to those persons. I ask you to take no action in this case.
Thank you. Just before I move on to our legal advisor, I do have a question of our legal advisor. Mr. Walsgrove has brought up the point, especially that if we can't make a correlation between the alcohol being served on the premises to the antisocial behaviour directly in front of the premises, then we should take no action. Is that the legal point of view?
I think that's precisely the nub of the issue that you need to determine, is the extent to which the antisocial behaviour that is being witnessed and reported is a direct result of the licensable activity which you regulate. I can't really say it much clearer than that.
I just wanted to make it exactly clear before we adjourned off. I know we'll have long discussions, so I've written so much down anyway. I know this has gone on a little bit longer than we anticipated today, but I would like to have with writing decision as well, because normally before we could come back, I'd say an hour and a half.
I think that's sensible as a minimum. This is likely to be quite a difficult decision, I think, for the subcommittee, and it may well be that even once the decision is made, the formulation of the reasons may well take some time for you. So I think an hour and a half, factoring in lunch as well, probably.
Yeah, some food, so people can grab something to eat as well. Should we just push it to 3, that we will meet no sooner than 3 o'clock?
It's entirely a matter for you, Chair, and
okay. Members?
Subcommittee.
I think we're going to have discussions. This is where I'm at. I think it's going to be long because I've written down a lot. Just give us time to get lunch. So we'll meet no sooner than 3 o'clock this afternoon, and I will make sure that it will be dead on 3 o'clock and it won't be any longer. But if you can be back,
I wouldn't commit yourself to that, Chair.
I
would strongly advise that you give the indication that the subcommittee will not reconvene before 3 o'clock. Yeah. It will do everything it can to try to, but it may take longer.
I'll try our hardest. But please do get some food, stretch legs, and how would we call people back in?
It will just be a matter of them coming back to the room at 3 o'clock, and then we would give an indication as to whether or not we're ready to give the decision, or whether you need more time.
Yeah. Thank you.
And at that stage you could indicate another half an hour, say, or whatever you feel at that point is needed.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for today.